What it do, what it do. In this video I built this all new, upcoming June 2022 Summer Wave release Lego freight train and modded it to be 8 studs wide. Alright. Greetings my fellow bushy blobs of some atomic building blocks. Name's Hans, father of the plants, hoarder of Teal bricks, and as always, berserk for Legos. Alright, I literally just built this 2 days ago. Initially this was just to fulfill my curiosity and be a proof of concept. Like most of you Lego addicts, these last few days I've been drilling and scoping out the newly unveiled summer Lego awesomeness that's going to be coming out next month. And in one particular moment I was just looking at the new 2022 60336 freight train. This might look amazing as an 8 wide train. It's something I've always actually wanted to try. So yeah, I was just going to build a shell to it and not even bother with the wheels or the undercarriage or putting lights in it. But the more it came together, the more I liked it, and I just kept going. I couldn't stop. So several years ago, I created my own protocol scale for my Lego City vehicles. Now, in the 80s and 90s, 99% of all Lego City vehicles were 4 studs wide, and trains at that time were 6 studs wide. And so that size difference, made a little bit more sense. Then in the 2000s, Lego started making cars that were also 6 studs wide, especially like trucks and stuff. Then they started making sports cars in 6 studs wide. Over time, over the last 20 years, Lego City vehicles kind of grown in scale, but the trains have stayed the same. They're still 6 studs wide. And now when you compare and look at the contrast between city vehicles and city trains, the scale is distorted. Alright, so one part of my protocol scale is that 6 studs wide trucks and SUVs and cars. Really large industrial vehicles and semi-trucks are 7 studs wide, slightly wider than 6 studs wide trucks and SUVs and cars. The other part of that protocol is that trains, trams, my Hyperloop, they're all 8 studs wide. Now I've already built the tram, I've already built a Hyperloop, they're both at 8 studs wide, but I've never built a train at 8 studs wide, and I'm loving it. I love how it turned out. Alright, and here's my Hyperloop, 8 studs wide. And I also made a cargo or freight Hyperloop with these 2 shipping containers. Also 8 studs wide. And I also have my tram is 8 studs wide, and the full-size semi-trucks are 7 studs wide. Another example is my garbage truck, also 7 studs wide. Compared to the 8 stud wide train, this is what I would classify as a compact semi-truck cab, 6 studs wide, smaller than the full size. And then larger city vehicles like full-size pickup trucks and SUVs are 6 studs wide, which is something that Lego's been doing for a while. So when you look at 6 studs wide for city vehicles, smaller semi-trucks, and then you got 7 studs wide for the bigger semi-trucks, you got 8 studs wide for trams, trains, cargo, Hyperloops. I feel like this fixes a lot of the scale distortion that is currently existing in Lego City sets. So when I line these 3 up together, 7 studs wide, 8 studs wide, 8 studs wide, this, without a doubt, looks much better at 8 studs wide. And I'm really happy that this new freight train is designed in such a way that it was relatively easy to expand it. I think the original Lego designers did such a great job on it. Now, this is not the first time I tried it. I did try to explore this back in 2020 with the 2014 passenger train, that white one with the sleek nose to it. But obviously that was an endeavor that was designated to fail. I love the molded nose on it. I mean, it's super sleek, it's gorgeous, but you can't really convert it to an 8 wide. Anyways, that attempt back then, it was more to fulfill my curiosity and just being able to see and visualize what an 8 stud wide train would look like. How many more seats could get in there? How does it compare to city vehicles, stuff like that. But again, since that time, I've done the Hyperloop and the tram. Now, 8 wide Lego trains is not new in the mocking Lego world, especially in the Lego train lug communities. They've already done it. It's old news. So let me talk about the train now. So it's 8 studs wide now, which means I get to use 6 stud wide window piece. And I think it looks a lot better than the window piece, which was only 4 studs wide. So what did I do? It's 8 studs wide. It is 2 plates taller on the sidewall, but then the top cab is actually 2 plates taller in addition to that. I did not have these inverted slope pieces in the medium azure. I swapped it out for the flame yellowish orange. I didn't have these in yellow. And here's where you can see the extra 2 plates that increase the height, which is right here in the orange stripe. In order to get the blue band to line up better with the top of the blue band on the side, this front nose right here is actually extra brick in height, which is represented right here. And the nice thing about that is that these black bow slopes actually come right up to the window, whereas in the original set, the window doesn't line up nicely with the bow slopes. And then to have the headlights line up with the front azure stripe right there, what I did was I turned the headlight bricks sideways. I also want to point out that I really like how the designer used these 1x3 wall element panels so that they could get the light element that's plugged into the battery box right in there. These bottom pieces, I didn't really put much effort into these bottom pieces. I scrapped these wheel hubs from the last cargo freight train, the green one. Yeah, that came off of there. The battery boxes in there as well. And of course, I like using my trans neon yellow for the UV light for all my headlights. And luckily, LEGO just came out with this quarter circle tile in trans neon yellow. So that matched up with the headlights. Really cool. Unfortunately, this doesn't light up. I tried using a headlight brick in there, but in order to get the headlight brick to fit in there, I tried finding a solution where it would be possible to plug a light element in there, but it just didn't work out. For the very top, I'm using a big 6x16 plate in there, and it's only held in place by 4 studs, 1 in each corner. So there's enough flex in there. So all I have to do is press on the very top of this, and I have one of those inverted circular boat bottom tiles right where the button is. So all I have to do is just press down on this plate, it'll hit the button. All right, so the one drawback to 8 stud wide trains is that the wheel carriages are obviously designed for the 6 studs wide. I'd rather see the wheels all the way out to the edges. For this freight car, it's in the original set, it's 6 studs wide, but with these side panels sticking out on the sides, it was already 8 studs wide. So then at first I made the base to be 8 studs wide, which meant that with the 2 side panels, it would have been a total of 10 studs wide. So I was like, that's not gonna work. So then I made the base to be 7 studs wide, and then with the inclusion of the side walls, it's now like a total of close to 9. But it worked because the width are pretty close to each other. All right, so this build was tricky because it's 7 studs wide in there. At first I was using the big 8x16 tile. So the crazy thing is that these wheel tracks are based on even numbers. So I had to get creative in order to kind of jumper these in the middle of the 7 wide right there. So yeah, and then I had to make the wheels pivot because this train car is actually longer by 6 studs compared to the original. I didn't want to bother with the ends folding down. Plus I didn't have any more of these. Okay, yeah, this is 2 days later. As I was editing the video for the intro on my original recordings, I decided at the last minute to go ahead and build the car carrier that's in the set. So I did that in a really big hurry, and I'm super glad I did. So everything looks different because this is day 2 of recording. All right, so one thing I wanted to come back and say is comparing the 8 wide train versus the 6 wide train. And here you can see the 2 side by side. Believe it or not, the height, even though I raised it up by 2 plates, this new one at 8 studs wide and scaled up a little bit extra here on the top, it pretty much looks the same across the top. It is a little bit taller than the cab right here, but visually, when you look at all of these rails and bars and here on the top, it comes out to be the same. So height-wise, the scale pretty much stays. But again, when you hold these 6 wide trains up next to the, like a lot of the cars and vehicles, these just look too small. So yeah, it does get a lot bigger, you know, like a 15-20% increase. If you were to just compare the gray parts, which is the train floor base, this one's only longer by an extra 4 studs. So in one sense, this increase in scale is pretty minimal, but at the same time, it's a noticeable difference. All right, so let's talk about the car carrier in this set. But this guy was done in a super big hurry, and it was mostly just to provide more substance to the intro video. But I also had a lot of fun making this, so it was really cool. Kind of crammed it together, so it is 8 wide, where in the original set, the base is 6 wide. and the platform 2 cars on top sit on. Those are 6 wide. But because of the support arms, and on the set there is a side rail that flips up, that sticks out. So if you include the support arms and the side rail in the up position. So yeah, for this one I made the base to be 8 studs wide overall. And that's the same thing that I do for the regular car carriers. And actually Lego's already done that for the most recent car carrier that they just came out with. I think it was last year, 2021. And then also for my flatbed tow truck, the flatbed is 8 studs wide. So this is natural, it just works. There really isn't an increase in width when it comes to this car carrier. And as far as the length is concerned, I increased the length by 4 studs in the middle. So I am using the 2 train bases, the 2 half train bases for this. These are only 6 studs wide, but I just kind of extended it 1 brick on each side. And in the middle, you can see that I've lengthened it by 4 studs overall. So I did a lot of things different than what the original set did. And here are the end pieces. So I designed these to flip open, and that's what allows the cars to get on and off of the thing. At the moment, I'm just kind of using this 2x2 tile to like keep it locked closed. So again, this is unfinished. There's still some things that I need to figure out and make improvements to. All right, as far as the support arms, I copied exactly what they did in the Lego set. I'm using the same exact support arms, and then even the way that it's connected at the bottom of the top carrier. They're using the 1x5 plates that has the axle hole in the middle of it, so I'm doing the same thing. Now, one thing that's significantly different that I did is the way they lock these up in the upright position and keep this from falling over back and forth was the side panel. They have the side panel that flips up, and when it flips up, it gets in between these 2 support arms and basically prevents it from going either left or right. So I didn't want to include that side panel right there because it would interfere with the cars themselves. So what I did was I came up with this little guy right here, and basically you just kind of flip these down. Actually, you only need to do it on one side only, and then it can tilt back and forth. Whichever way you want to tilt it, you just flip that one particular side down. So it flips down, and then this opens up, and then the cars can be loaded from whatever ramp is right there. I'm pretty stoked with this right here, because this, to me, is like way cooler. A lot more minimal. And then as far as the loading cars up on the middle here, there's got to be some sort of platform, and then they just kind of like parallel park the car right in there. I'm not sure if Lego intended cars to like go up in here. It looks like maybe they did, but it's done in such a way that there's no way the car could actually drive up there in that particular way. And it didn't work for me either because it would require like a super sleek, like not even a super sleek sports car could fit in there. So I'm not even bothering to use these. This is just a 3-car carrier. So 1 car on the bottom, 2 cars on top. And I like to use this space for the SUVs. Oh, and this is my remock of the electric SUV from set number 60257? Yeah, 60257. I really like how this turned out. I didn't like the way they did the SUV in 60257, and especially didn't like those wheels. I especially didn't like the way it's a 6-wide car with a 4-stud wide windshield. On an SUV, nah. On like a super ultra sexy sports car or a convertible, yeah, it makes a little more sense. I still wish that windows were like more like 5 studs wide on a 6-wide car, but it is what it is. But as far as SUVs, for me, the windshields need to be like the same width of this car. But I love how this turned out. Here's another SUV that I made. This is a remock of the one from the Shang-Chi movie Lego sets. I haven't finished it yet because I don't exactly have a good solution for those 2 studs on the roof right there. Wish I could get a sunroof in there, but So this is great for SUVs, and then up here, just so it can fit through tunnels maybe a little bit better. Might be better if put sports cars that are really low profile up there at the very top. Yeah. One other bit of awesomeness, I'm using the little rubber pieces for the tank track treads as bump stops. And this was something I just recently came up with for my flatbed tow truck. Yep, I've actually already did a major overhaul to my flatbed tow truck. There's gonna be a video on that probably in the next month or two, and I can't wait to show you guys that one. But I gotta show you guys my new buses first. But anyways, I really like this feature. So it helps protect the cars, and it's also on my flatbed tow truck. Yeah. I gotta figure out where I put the other ones. So there's for there, and then also these are supposed to have the rubber bump stops right there, right. Focus. Yeah, right there. Yeah, this is my car carrier. It's incomplete. It's a close approximation to what's seen in the set. I thought it was pretty nifty how it turned out in the set, how the designer created it. So one other thing is that my trucks, I use these particular tires for all my trucks, and these wheels make them exactly 8 studs wide. So that becomes a problem, especially if I'm using these wall elements right there. Don't exactly roll on. I'd have to come up with a different solution. I may just end up getting rid of these wall elements and then coming up with little chains that can attach the cars that keep them chained onto the carrier. I also excluded the little wheel chocks that Lego likes to add. I know why they add it, it's for playability. It makes it simple for the kids who have those sets, but not really my thing. So I don't like it. I like to have a nice, smooth, flat surface because to me that's a little more practical and realistic. So it's the same thing that you've already seen in my flatbed tow truck video. That's a completely smooth, flat surface. So how does the scale of these two rail cars compare to the rail cars of the 6 studs wide? Here's one. This is a 6 studs wide. Again, now that I've been messing around with 8 studs wide, this just looks like really slender. It is a pretty big difference, and like this one is 6 studs longer using this slightly longer train chassis base. And if you compare it to this one, this is a slightly shorter, but it makes it about the same length as this car. I hope you guys liked that intro video, and I had so much fun recording, doing all the action shots. And at the very end, that's my first time doing a little bit of stop motion. Like every time I watch it, it just gives me the giggles. Like it's hilarious to me. So yeah, hope you guys liked the intro video. All right, and just a quick update on what's coming up next. I had some things that get in the way. I kind of had to disassemble the city and kind of move it off to the side, just temporarily. And that's what kind of delayed progress. I'm still making developments. Crazy working on the boutique hotel. I finally got some of those parts in, finishing that up, but now I'm just going full bore on building the interior on that. So that's gonna be the next major city update, is when I get that finished. So the boutique hotel is gonna be a series. Each floor is gonna get its own individual video, and the hotel I think it's epic. Hopefully you guys are gonna think it's epic. And yeah, so one of the floors is pretty challenging. I think I pretty much got it all figured out and put together. Another thing I've been doing is just like crazy redoing a lot of my vehicles. And that's because of my whole craze towards 7 studs wide for my industrial vehicles. And it just looks so awesome. And like now every time I look at any of my industrial vehicles, my semi trucks, like all I see is like, it needs to be 7 wide. Yes, we must make this happen. And one of the awesome things that came out of that is I've made an update to all 3 of my buses, the school bus, the double-decker bus, and the city bus. And then I also created another bus that's completely brand new, and it's even cooler. So I can't wait to show you guys that, but I'm gonna do a whole new series. These videos are gonna be slightly shorter, just because you've already seen the first 3 buses already. So those videos will be quick updates showing the new changes. The changes are awesome, but yeah, they'll be shorter videos. And then the last video will be the new bus that I've made, and I think you guys are gonna love it. I've got some videos of the 7 studs wide semi trucks coming up. One thing that I've been working on for the Parodies of City is I've had to raise a lot of the basement level. So I've had to build up, increase the height of the foundations in the basement level. I've come up with a way to make the water canals, the little rivers running through the city. I'm really liking how that's turning out. We will probably see that in the next city update. So yeah, stay tuned. And on that note, I'll catch you all later. right.